何かが消えてしまったという感覚だけが目覚めてからも長く残る。
いつも何かを失う予感があると彼女はそう言った。
ずっと何かを、誰かを探している。
当時まだ中学生だった僕には実感が持てるはずもなかったけれど、それでも
そういう気持ちに取りつかれたのは多分あの日から。
彼女のその言葉は不思議に僕の心を震わせた。
あの日、星が降った日、それはまるで
夢の景色のように、ただひたすらに美しい眺めだった。
Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to my thoughts. Makoto Shinkai is a director of intense focus. Over the years, he has molded, shaped, and improved his abilities as a filmmaker in countless ways, resulting in numerous films that stand resolutely distinct in an overflowing sea of Japanese animation. Sharp lines, heart-rending romances, and spectacular landscapes. The staggering amounts of detail in Shinkai's films are borderline absurd, increasing in depth and complexity with each and every work he produces. What is it that makes a Shinkai film so iconic? And how has he developed the creative abilities necessary to craft intricate universes capable of transporting us to other worlds? In this video, I explore how he has developed and synthesized a unique blend of core storytelling elements into his signature style as a filmmaker. So come along and join me on this fascinating journey through Makoto Shinkai's extensive catalog of animated filmography. Shinkai has always had a penchant for absolutely saturating his universes with detail. Detail, detail, detail. To me, this is the key element to his brand of world building. Every scene, every second of screen time is bursting with elaborate details, forming a sum total greater than its parts. From a breathtaking volley of radiant comets to the folded over sleeve of a partially used eraser, the amount of thought and effort applied to each scene is simply astonishing. Rattling train cars, raindrops rippling across puddles, isolating snowy landscapes, jaw-dropping starscapes illuminating the night sky. These recurring visual motifs are ever present throughout his entire catalog, even dating back to his earliest works. Viewing them side by side, we can gain a broader sense of how his world building has progressed through an increasing sophistication of detail. With each iterative work, Shinkai consistently filled more of the frame with little particulars, giving a certain lived-in quality to his universes, making them more relatable to viewers. This relatability enables audiences to intuitively grasp at deeper meaning, connecting his characters to the worlds they inhabit. Zooming in further, let's examine his evolution from one work to the next. Through this process, I will highlight the core building blocks essential to a Shinkai film, and how he has matured them over time. We'll take a look at the progression of the quality and detail in animation, both the characters and the world surrounding them, the different aspects of love and relationships he has grappled with, as well as the gradual shift of his film's fantasy elements, from a colder, alienating science fiction to a warmer, more accessible magical realism. 2002's Voices of a Distant Star first probed the concept of distance between characters, both physically and romantically. Originally an ordinary high school student, Mikako is selected by the UN to pilot a giant robot mecha, combating aliens across the galaxy. The farther out into space she ventures, the longer her messages to Noboru take to transmit, eventually taking years at a time to complete the voyage. Shinkai's first broadly targeted work was largely a solo effort, and the quality of the animation and CGI reflect this fact, as well as the era's technology. While decidedly less polished than later works, the roots clearly show through. The emotional crux of the film relies on the idea that earnest communication from the heart transcends the boundary of distance. Voices grappled with what would eventually become recurring themes for Shinkai: distance, isolation, and loneliness in relationships. In his first major feature, 2004's The Place Promised in Our Early Days, Shinkai continued exploring sci-fi while also beginning to mix in elements of magical realism. Set in an alternate timeline, ideologically divided Japan, a complex story unfolds with loads of technical jargon about planes and parallel universes wrapped around a love triangle between three high schoolers. Looking back, it feels like the complicated narrative drew focus away from the main relationships, resulting in a shallower emotional connection to the characters than in later works. Similar to Voices of a Distant Star, the body and facial animations leave a bit to be desired, perhaps due to a stronger emphasis on building out the world as opposed to the individual characters. However, even for a film released in 2004, the impressively detailed animation of its landscapes and scenery holds up well to this day. Arguably his breakout work, 2007's 5 centimeters per second would completely eschew any tendency for a sci-fi based universe. Instead, 5 centimeters is grounded in a realistic modern-day Japan. Rather than galaxy-wide conflict or worldwide catastrophe, the focus is decidedly restrained, and the film is all the better for it. Reducing the scope and complexity of the story allowed him to focus solely on the development of a deeper emotional connection between the main characters, allowing the audience to connect with their struggles. Excellent pacing and music, combined with an emphasis on the relatable challenge of long-distance relationships. This film was built on an aching, beating heart, buried underneath the exceptional quality of animation. Artistically blending scenes together with drawn-out, emotionally evocative transitions allowed it the luxury of feeling comfortably longer than its short 65-minute runtime. Compared to later work, the character animation at times feels a bit rough around the edges, with a priority on animating the world over its characters, a point that feels particularly relevant in the wake of his next film. 2011's Children Who Chase Lost Voices marked a hard left in Shinkai's creative world building. Rather than science fiction or heartbreaking romance, Children is set in an ethereal, watercolor-esque world steeped in magical realism. At first glance, it feels almost Ghibli-esque, but its occasional violent bite, combined with the complex emotional themes of loss, grief, and death, cement it as a signature Shinkai film. The main character, a young Asuna, is swept into the long-lost underworld of Agartha, encountering mythical beasts, shadow monsters, and the many-eyed manifestation of God itself. Almost like a fever dream, this film stands apart as a special experimentation in blending magic and fantasy like no other Shinkai film to date. As if flipping a switch in more ways than one, this film feels like a particular case study for Shinkai on character design. Rather than spending the majority of screen time on unpopulated landscapes, there is a much stronger emphasis on characters, their movements, their interactions with the world, and their facial expressions reacting to it all. This extra focus on character development through animation enabled them to carry more of the storytelling weight than his previous films. Returning to a more familiar style in 2013, Shinkai released 2 films set in realistic universes, centered on relationships, Someone's Gaze and The Garden of Words. Someone's Gaze is a short film with some near-futuristic sci-fi elements. However, the focus is squarely on exploring the growth and history of a small family. Now a young adult, recently independent Aya struggles to connect with her father, having her own set of adult responsibilities and daily problems. Someone's Gaze continues Shinkai's trend of exploring the complexity and loneliness of personal relationships. but this time through the lens of a family rather than romance. The way he manages to build weighty and relatable emotional connections in just a short 7 minutes really speaks to how far he had come thus far in his ability as a storyteller. On its surface, The Garden of Words seems wholly different than Someone's Gaze, and yet, underneath it all are the same recurrent themes driving the story and its characters. It follows a blossoming relationship between 15-year-old Takao and 27-year-old Takino, as they attempt to navigate feelings of isolation and loneliness among their own peer groups. An unspoken agreement. They meet in the same garden every rainy morning and slowly develop a complicated yet complementary relationship towards one another. A film bursting with recurring motifs and visual metaphors laid out through magnificently elegant imagery. Garden of Words is Shinkai firing on all cylinders. The emphasis on loneliness, rejection, and love is explored subtly yet thoroughly in just 46 minutes of screen time. To this day, the quality of animation remains one of the most remarkable and stunning examples I have ever encountered. Also interestingly, its emphasis on weather, particularly the interplay of rain and sun, would set the stage for his later work. After traversing seemingly all ends of his creative spectrum, Shinkai at last discovered the perfect middle ground in his 2016 worldwide blockbuster epic, Your Name. Set in a realistic mirror of modern-day Japan, but with just the right formulation of magical realism mixed in. The main characters share the inexplicable tendency to swap bodies at random, developing a love for one another without ever actually meeting. This all comes to a sudden head when they learn that a rapidly approaching comet threatens to destroy Mitsuha's entire town. Your Name feels like the ultimate coalescence of Shinkai's career as a director of animation. He pulls from all of his experience, takes the best elements from each film in his catalog, and blends them together into this solitary masterpiece. The supporting cast provide layers and depth to the story without being distracting. The main characters are emotive, expressive, and fluidly animated. Their relatable interpersonal struggles allow the audience to build a deep emotional connection to them. There's just enough magic and mystery to maintain a compelling pace and drive the plot forward. And of course, the signature of any Shinkai film, the remarkable, breathtakingly gorgeous animation is put on full display. Markedly different in tone from any of his previous work, the outlook of Your Name is unabashedly optimistic, and yet still gingerly pulls at your heartstrings through the entirety of its runtime. Garnering international critical acclaim and success, it's clear that Your Name truly elevated Shinkai's career to new heights. His most recent work at the time of this video, 2019's Weathering with You, feels like an extension of the universe established by Your Name, albeit with different characters. A high school runaway, Hodaka is just trying to make his way through an unforgiving and perpetually wet Tokyo cityscape. One day he meets Hina, a miraculous Hare Onna, or girl who brings the sun, literally. In a rain-drenched Tokyo, her prayers are the only means through which bursts of sunlight peek through the endless downpour. While at first the magic brings them together, eventually it threatens their livelihood, as Hina discovers she must sacrifice herself to cease the never-ending rain. Extensive use of CG, stunningly detailed animation, and sponsorships galore, Makoto Shinkai has arrived. Following the massive success of Your Name, it feels like Shinkai was essentially given a blank check for this film, and it shows in the level of production value ever present throughout it. Every single scene is truly spectacularly animated, with an awe-inspiring amount of visual nicety. However, in other ways, it almost feels like a step back. Reminiscent of some of his earlier works, the story's focus feels a bit loose, making it difficult to drive the same emotional connection to the characters that seem to so effortlessly manifest in 5 centimeters, Garden of Words, and Your Name. It feels like some of the magic might have been lost in catering to specific expectations, perhaps due to the success and name recognition he has garnered from his work thus far. In any case, it is evident that only because of his extensive experience and growth was he able to manage an undertaking of such massive scale and proportion. Regardless of any perceived pitfalls, Weathering with You is chock full of absolutely dazzling animation. The last film I will present is actually the very first Shinkai work to gather the attention of a broader audience. 1999's She and Her Cat. A very short 5-minute film with limited scenes, produced almost entirely by a solitary Shinkai. It explores the relationship of a cat, voiced by Shinkai himself, and the love he has for his owner. With limited resources, he opted to do the entire animation by himself in black and white. While simple in nature, the scenery and limited dialogue are subtly emotional and relatable. Looking back on it now, we can clearly see the roots of what would develop into his signature style. Attention to detail, world building, and speaking through evocative scenery as opposed to heavy dialogue. I found it fitting to close the loop of this essay by examining the humble beginnings of a director now renowned for his wide-scale blockbuster animation. Viewing Shinkai's body of work side by side, I've gained a broader respect and appreciation for his evolution as an animator, director, and artist at large. He has explored relationships through the themes of isolation, loneliness, loss, and love. He has a recurring set of motifs, ubiquitous throughout his catalog, that bridge together both the visual language of his worlds and the emotional connections of the characters contained therein. Above all else, his attention to detail and uncompromising animation quality allow him to craft uniquely beautiful and distinct films. These facets combined are what make Makoto Shinkai a truly exceptional director who has created enduring works of art that resonate deeply with audiences across the world over. To wrap up this video, I want to examine one final motif that repeatedly appears in all of his work, a fascination with the sky, and more specifically, a fascination for splitting it, dividing it up into fragments. He's used barbed wire, electric and telephone lines, train tracks, a rocket's trail, and celestial bodies, to name a few. I find it particularly compelling because of its tendency to appear in a film's pivotal moments. The climax of a relationship, a newfound resolve, a forlorn pondering of the past, or the imagining of an idealistic future. Key changes in a character's story are almost always punctuated with this visual metaphor. But what does it mean? Why does he always pan to the sky, and why does he split it in seemingly endless ways? The paradoxical nature of the sky as a symbol is in how it feels so near, yet remains out of reach. It goes on forever, and yet we are perpetually connected to it, reminding oneself simultaneously of an infinitesimal smallness, and yet an infinitely expansive potential stretching out into the horizon. Perhaps he splits the sky as a representation of the multiple realities that are, that could be, the infinite multitude of things that possibly could or would happen, a sort of unbearable yet absolute coalescence of all possible eventualities together at one single moment. I can't say for sure, and perhaps Shinkai himself wouldn't readily have an answer available, but I do find it intriguing that this visual element recurs in vital scenes across every single one of his works. To me, it is evocative of the very nature of Shinkai's creative vision as a storyteller. His films have this enduring quality of creating a deep, relatable sadness, but with a lining of steady optimism for the future. A profound mystery plunged beneath the surface that draws you in, compelling you to yearn for more. It is through this rippling across the waves of human emotion that Makoto Shinkai is able to thoroughly, relatably explore the depths of not only the relationships we nurture, but the very essence of the human spirit itself. An animator, writer, director, and storyteller unlike any other, in a class all his own. This has been The Evolution of Makoto Shinkai. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In case it wasn't abundantly clear from the video, I think Makoto Shinkai is a brilliant director and definitely deserves all the praise and attention he's gotten so far. Speaking of which, I can hardly believe that I've finally finished this video. Between all of the research, the writing, and the editing, It took me well over 100 hours to produce. And do you know what that means? It's time for the very first Tim Thoughts giveaway! And so, you're probably asking, what am I giving away? First I was thinking it would be nice to give away something thematically relevant, like Shinkai's Your Name. But then I thought, do people actually have Blu-ray players? So giving away a physical copy didn't seem like it quite fit the bill. And then I thought, okay, well I can give away a digital copy of the film. So then I went to Amazon to look it up, and apparently you can't give away a digital copy of a film through Amazon. But I did look it up, and it cost $14.99 US, and so instead of giving away the actual film itself, I'm gonna give away a $15 Amazon gift card. So the lucky winner can choose to buy the film, or hey, at this point it's your money. Buy yourself something nice if you want. I can't stop you. And so the rules to this giveaway are pretty simple. You just have to be subscribed, like this video, and leave a comment letting me know either what video made you subscribe to my channel, or what is your favorite Tim Thoughts video that you've seen. It could even be this video. And on top of that, if you would like an additional entry, share this video on a social media platform and let me know in your comment that you've done so, and I'll give you an extra entry into the contest. This contest will last for approximately 1 month and will end on September 5th, 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so I can draw for the giveaway on my birthday, which is September 6th. Shortly after that, I'll post a video detailing who the winner of the giveaway is, so make sure you hit the notification bell so that you know when that video comes out to see if you've won the prize. And good luck to everybody who enters. I wish I could give you all the gift cards, but there can only be one. And if you are interested in how I made this video, I am currently working on a companion video that will detail all of the thought, planning, and work that goes into creating every single one of my video essays. I think it's really interesting, and it gives you a sort of peek behind the scenes so you can see all the effort that really goes into each and every Tim Thoughts video that comes out. It's something that I've been wanting to share with you guys for a long time because I put a lot of work and effort into each and every single one of my videos, and I think it's this really little neat peek behind the scenes that I think a lot of you would be interested in. So I'll leave a link for that here and in the description below. If it's not there yet, then I haven't posted it. So again, make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when that video gets posted as well. If you're watching this video in the future and the giveaway is already over, well, be sure to subscribe because there will for sure be more giveaways in the future, and then that way you can be notified when it happens. But in any case, that's all I have. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck to all the participants, and I'll see you guys in the next video.